Hi there, Agile friends. I'll come in here just with a quick note to let you know that the Agile Online Summit 2022 is coming soon. To know more, check out bit.ly/AOS2022. That's all one word, all lowercase, bit.ly/AOS2022. Now, stick around to the end of the episode if you want to know more, but for now, on to the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Leading Change, the Wednesday episode this week with Allison Zimmerman. Hey, Allison, welcome back.
Hi, thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. So Wednesday is the Change Leadership, as I like to call it, episode. And we want to hear about all of those tools, the tips, the tricks, the techniques you learned during a change process that you still use today. So tell us that story. Walk us through the context a little bit, make us understand, what kind of change it was and the size of the organization. Was it one team, multiple teams, an individual, whatever that was. And then as you go through that story, highlight for us then all of the tools, the tips, the tricks, the techniques you learned back then that you still use today.
Definitely. Okay, so I work in a financial institution and there's a lot of regulatory controls and therefore less influence over our change management and release processes. So a lot of my stories aren't these massive, big changes to help improve flow in that space, but I do have stories about changing processes and behaviors in a team and a group of teams or a team of teams and within a framework. So this is actually pretty recently. I've been allowed to step into a space to help a whole system of Scrum teams, so kind of safe-ish, within some framework flexibility. And we were really just kind of challenged, we're having some operating issues, we think it's our structure. What do you think we should do about it? Can you approach maybe changing the process here? And so that was a pretty big ask, especially since I felt like, I don't know what you're asking. Kind of sounds like I'm solving for a solution that you've already decided, and I'm looking for an issue there.
And were you, by the way?
Right. So it was really fun to kind of think about it and pause and reflect, because it was an opportunity for me to realize, okay, I need to coach up to the organization as well. But also there is an issue. We are having an issue. And when I asked, what's the problem? Let's go to the data. So that's my tools that I used. Let's look at our framework and the flexibility within there. How are our teams working together as a whole for dependency management and for impediments across the teams? So I was able to kind of pull our data and start gathering feedback. So what I could have done was just me and the other person they asked me to work with, we could have made decisions based on that. But if I'm a servant leader to an organization, again, we've kind of talked about it earlier in the week, like I am not the keeper of all Agile knowledge and answers. So what I did was approach very cautiously and approached with curiosity. And so Brené Brown was talking in my head and it was like, okay, take it to the team. So I took it to the system and to the teams and I treated them as professionals. So it was really tempting where I think this is the issue and this is where I think we should go. But it was really important for me to not manipulate them into doing what I thought was best.
How did you do that? So you started collecting data and then you decide, okay, right, I need to take it to the team. How did you do that?
Sure. Really, really fancy one-on-ones. Or I would just pop in, ask if, I knew some people just had groups that they just tend to meet together. And so I asked, hey, can I come and ask some questions if it was popping into retrospectives here and there and say, what is your perception of the issue that we're facing? And if you had a magic wand and could wave it, what would be different? So really it was just a lot of anecdotal notes and taking.
So you were kind of doing an overall retrospective, but through multiple conversations with multiple individuals.
Oh, yes, with about 8 teams. And different groups of people. Some people were able to reach out to me afterwards as well and be like, you know what, I didn't want to say it in that setting because, I'm not the person there with them all the time. And, so retrospective format, one-on-one format, definitely just reaching out and asking. And even after collating all of that information and trying to make sense of it and grouping it into themes, we still took it back to the teams to be like, hey, is this still is what your intent was? Did I capture what you were saying correctly? Because you got to think of that power of the pen. what I'm writing that they're telling me is still just my perception of what they're saying. So verifying as well, is this your intent? This is the issue you're facing. And so we would come up with some solutions together and again take that to the team and from an iterative approach as well. So some of the feedback we're getting is there's change fatigue, which is hard to hear as, it's from somebody who's supposed to be a change agent. That really what I was trying to do was just be a mirror to the system and reflect back to them, hey, what do you see here when we look at our data or we look at how things are going for us? And if our delivery is a problem, what trends are you seeing and do you notice or do you have questions about? So I definitely approached with embracing my own humanity and vulnerability and saying, hey, I want to make sure I didn't misinterpret what you were saying. What do you want to be better? And so that was able to lead to some baby steps. We made some recommendations of, hey, based on what I'm seeing here and what you're saying is an issue, here's some options. What options have I not considered? What do you want to try? Just like a retro format. And taking that to the system as a whole, what are we comfortable with trying to implement? And where I have failed in the past, I know this isn't like the failure learning story from Monday,
Well, they
but
are all, right?
right, we're always learning and growing and being refined together. So, what I did learn from having done this in the past, we'd say, oh, we're going to make an experiment and we're going to run an experiment and try something, but we never really collected our data from the beginning or had a clear documented outcome and goal that we were looking for within a time box to see did it work. So I was like, can we even call this a real experiment from a scientific method standpoint? Like this is not something we can rely on. So let's not reference back to that change being as something we actually experimented with. So definitely the changes that I'm making going forward are here's all of our data from before was collected. We're having a delivery issue and we kind of define that for ourselves, what that looked like. Root cause worked down to some of those symptoms. And now we have a tiny little incremental improvement that we want to see and we can check back in, 2 sprints. I'm going to
And
check
the
back.
the amazing part of having this constant interaction with the team and taking it to the team in many different steps is that ultimately they will be the ones enacting change, right? Like you're
Right.
acting the change as the change agent. Actually, it's more like the change facilitator, right? Because
Right.
they are the ones eventually ending up deciding what needs to be changed, executing it, and then deciding whether they want to keep it or not. And actually, I want to bring that back to the phrase you used before, which is this idea of change fatigue. And people can only be fatigued from the things they didn't take initiative on
Oh,
themselves.
so true.
So
Yeah.
if we create the space for teams to take initiative, then they are going to change a lot faster and much more frequently, sometimes so much more frequently than we are the
Hmm.
ones with change fatigue.
Right. It's so true. Well, and then they take ownership of it too. So my whole goal, like you shouldn't need me to hold your hand through any of this anymore. And what happens if I go to a different team? The team that I left should not fall apart. They should be able to continue looking at their own system as a whole, being a mirror and reflecting back, looking at what they're doing and being able to make their own decisions and change for growth on their own.
I get the feeling that your past as a teacher has probably helped you to accept that I don't need to come up with the solutions for everything because everyone learns in a different way. And of
So
course, if
true.
you're a teacher, you have some experience of what that means in practice, right? This is not just a
Hmm.
phrase; it's something you've seen every day in those classrooms. And the same with change, right? Like everybody adjusts to change in their own unique and different way. But if they are the ones taking initiative, then they take ownership. They feel they are part of the process, and also they do what they think needs to be done, right? Like they have
Right.
that motivation from the start.
Yeah, that was something really hard for me at the beginning, but I've really just kind of embraced it as just a core bit of truth of what I believe about being a scrum master. In embracing that humility, there's kind of a reality check that we become scrum masters. Most of us take a 2-day course and they slap the label master on us of something. And I'm still practicing 5 years. I was using those skills the first 4 years of teaching, but 5 years in this scrum master role, I'm still practicing how to master that craft. So it's if you find yourself struggling to trust the team, just be a part of that and trust them to partner with you for change. So thinking of like Ghostbusters, the key master and the gatekeeper, right? I'm not the key master of all Agile knowledge or the gatekeeper to their success. We're a team, and we can work through this together.
Yeah, partnership for success. Absolutely. That was beautifully said. Thank you for that, Allison. Hi there, Agile friends. Thank you for sticking around to know more about this year's Agile Online Summit. The summit will have 4 keynotes and 4 tracks you will not want to miss. The keynotes will touch on critical topics for us, from delivering on time to helping you to focus on sustainability. The 4 tracks are tools, so we'll focus on tools you need to excel at your job, but also your mission. We'll also have a track on sustainability, which is, of course, about people and their sustainable pace, but it's also about how do we bring sustainability to the products and the planet we inhabit. We'll have a 3rd track about happiness, talking about doing what we love and, most crucially, loving what we do. And finally, the 4th track will be live. It will be mostly hands-on sessions to help you roll up your sleeves together with the presenters. Oh, and we will also have a coaching clinic, as we usually do, organized to help you discuss and get inspired to solve the hardest challenges you face at work. This year, we'll have a special emphasis on interaction with your peers, so get your ticket and join the Slack at bit.ly/AOS 2022. As always, we have free tickets for anyone that wants to attend live, and the VIP tickets for those of you who want to keep the videos forever. So check them out at bit.ly/AOS 2022. I'll see you on the conference floor. Leading change is one of the core skills we must acquire, but it is only one of the steps towards our success as Scrum Masters. Tomorrow, on Success Thursday, we will talk about how to define success for the Scrum Master role, we'll cover tips on how to measure your way to that position, and most importantly, how to develop that focus on continuous improvement that is as important for Scrum Masters as it is for teams. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.